Your host,
Live.
Sean Anderson.
Hey, Buffalo, West New York, and points beyond. Hey, you know what I say? It's like medicine over the air. And check this out. I got some really fabulous news because I'm celebrating. Why? Because I'm at the station with the #1 DJ. Yeah, King Shad. Yeah, that's right. Y'all didn't know look, man. He is DJ. Is it of the year? We'll find out at another time, or maybe through the interview, he might even shout out a little bit about it. But right on, bro. Yeah. And imagine if the rest of us, you hear what I said? If the rest of us had voted for him, they would have really talking about, man, hey, we with him, but we had that great karma with him. Right on, bro. Peace and love. Hey, listen. Hey, we on that same way because you see him right in front of you. If you're watching on my Facebook page and you notice you didn't hear, I know you're gonna say, "Hey, I thought you had a co-host." I do, and guess what? That's who we gonna be interviewing and talking to today. You can join us at area code 716-837-1112. And I just want to look. I already said. My guest is, yes, young, gifted, and black. And look, he's a teenager. Don't let the numbers fool you, because sometimes people think teenagers are kids, but they are not. And we're going to talk to him. And the first thing besides saying, hey, welcome, Austin. See, y'all let me forget to say his whole name, Austin Vaughn Martin. And he is an entrepreneur of his own right, and he is a dynamic co-host. Good on these mics. So we're gonna get a chance to rock and push him and pull him and learn about him and learn from him. So, with the first thing I want to say after saying hi again, Austin, um, tell me about you. Tell us about you.
Absolutely. So it's great to be here today. And before I go a little bit into what I do, I just want to say and acknowledge that the first in anything is amazing. So congratulations to as well as getting nominated and winning that award, because I know the work that you do for the station, and I'm glad that other people can see it as well. Kind of going into a little bit about what I do. Like you said, I am a speaker and I focus on helping people win instead of walk away. Now, when you say that, what is a win and what is a walk away? Now, for a lot of people, we know what walk away is, right? Maybe walk away is saying, you know what? Instead of having this conversation, I don't have the words for it. I don't even have that energy today. Walk away is I'm living in a house where I don't even know how to communicate with my parents or my kids. So instead, we just live very separate lives in a common space. Walk away is saying, I'm not going to go for this promotion because I'm pre-disqualifying myself because I'm scared or I don't have the words to describe why I'm fit for this position. So I'm going to say I'm unqualified. That's what walk away is. So the question becomes, what does a win look like and how bad do you want to win?
Let me ask you something. Do you have a targeted audience?
Absolutely. So I do have a targeted audience. I'm young, like you said, so I always specialize in the younger perspective. But communication isn't a younger perspective issue; it's a people issue. So I focus on personal and professional people, but especially within that youth market. And I'll get a little deeper into what I'm currently doing when I get a little deeper into my bio, what my current things are. But taking a step back into kind of looking back at the early years or the early start of my speaking journey, and why is that so important? You really can't get a sense of how I am today if you don't know where I kind of started from. Like you said, I am pretty young. I've only been speaking for a year. And actually, going around that year, it started about the end of my high school year. I went to Canisius High School in Buffalo. I graduated with a 4.0. And I enjoyed it. It was a great experience. As I got to the back end of my senior year, I was given the opportunity to speak. It's an all-boys school. So sadly, we don't have a father-daughter dance. We have mom prom. And I said to myself, you know what? If there's one mom that's going to have a special night today, and I'm given the opportunity, why not just take a chance? Because to be honest with you, I said no at first. I said, I don't think I'm a public speaker. My plan was to go to college. I already got into Howard, HU, come on. I was at the Mecca. So I really had no idea about speaking being a journey. But when I saw that and I made that decision to step into that and I got such great feedback from it, I decided, you know what? I like this thing. I love communication, and it started to click a lot of the things that not only I saw through my school grades and always having good English grades. My mom, if you know her as a woman, she has been speaking into my life for as long as I can remember. And I always said no. I wasn't a fan of it. going into the end of my year, I say, okay, I want to speak. Well, now I get out of school, I tell Howard I don't want to go, and I just know I want to speak. And if you can imagine a full pot of water on the stove, I hadn't simmered yet. So I had a great idea, but I didn't have any description. So I started going to networking events with my mom, and I have a bunch of people in my life who are great in their own fields. So I was getting exposed to great connections, and I knew the product was good. I've been able to speak and articulate myself. I know I can speak, but the issue was I was asking myself, how can I find a way to make this truly my own? And what is my reason for speaking? And that was kind of my early speaking career. It was a lot of bouncing around. I didn't really know how to make a splash anywhere or what the importance of speaking was. Or maybe I knew what the importance was, but I didn't know how to articulate that to others. And so I came in saying, well, let me ask you, what do you think my first speaking endeavor was?
I would think since you have a spiritual walk, might have been in that opportunity and through some activity. The second place would be something, if it wasn't in school, but spin off into a different setting that is school-like, that is educational.
I actually went far left. I only have one grandparent. And so my idea was I was going to travel the country in an RV, interviewing elderly people. It was called Words from the Wiser. We recognize older people have all this knowledge, but it's not captured. And books don't always do experiences justice. So
repeat that again. You were
I was going to travel the country interviewing elderly people, especially right at the end of COVID, because I recognize that people aren't here forever. And books don't do elderly people justice. The wisdom, the knowledge. It's one thing to read about segregation. Ask somebody who lived through it. It's one thing to read about discrimination. Ask somebody who grew up and worked back in the day.
So you sat down with these elders and engaged them in conversations about the life they have experienced.
Filming them about, just asking about their career decisions that they made, asking them about things they wish they would have known when they was younger, things they want to tell their family, because for a lot of people, the shame is what happens. They're young and it's grandma's house. So it's, oh, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go to grandma's house. And then you get 30 and grandma's not there no more. And you wish you would have asked grandma certain things. So it was deeper than just me. I wanted to travel the country and give families and people alike, people who don't have grandparents and people whose grandparents I'm interviewing, a chance to look back over the years, when those days when you just need advice, when those days when you want to go to the cemetery and sit on the tombstone and say, I don't know what to do. Can you speak to me? I'd actually have a video for you to look at. So it was a really big, all-encompassing idea, but it was too much. I bit off more than I can chew. I've always had that issue. I used to be at the dinner table at Thanksgiving with a mountain plate, and I'd eat two things. So I've always had the issue of biting off more than I can chew. And as we got to the end of that year, Jim, you know, like I know, when it came to buy that RV and that gas for the year, man, I was looking at the numbers and my account wasn't saying the same thing. So that year, I realized I had to pivot. And that was the first of many pivots throughout the year. And as that speaking kind of developed, I got into some other things as well. I started doing interviews before the show. I was doing streaming on my own with my mom. I was trying to get into places, any opportunity. I was training. I also do trainings with my mom. So I was really just trying to speak in a general sense. And as I kind of got more simmered down and my message became more personalized, more unique, more my own, we kind of got to where I'm at now. So what do I currently speak about now? Like I said, it's win instead of walk away. But again, why is that important? Why is the win instead of walk away important? Because for a lot of people, these walkaways are things in their lives that are causing major issues. And as I talk more into this interview, I'm going to spend a lot of time on the value of speaking and how those issues appear in regular life. But these issues that people solve, there's no way to solve that. And maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong. How do you solve a kid who doesn't want to speak to you besides speaking to him? Well, you can't take the phone. That doesn't solve anything. Right. So that's why speaking is so important.
And you advise in situations like that, what the experience would be like for you? And
it's contextual. So a lot of times, depending on the scenario, if you're a person who just needs to talk, you can't even talk to your kid. I'll come in and start with facilitation. You sit right here. You sit right here. Don't talk to them. Talk to me. That's what we'll start with, facilitation. And then as we get to know each other, we'll develop a communicational plan that's individualized to the context, but also, and this is the difference, I don't speak just because, speaking is something that's good or, it's cool or something. I speak because I truly believe that when you learn to speak and you have the keys and the answers, speaking can be broken down to a science. When we have those answers, we can spend less time having everybody figure out how to speak and more time actually having the conversation. So with speaking, I don't want you to think that it's something that makes you feel better, but you can actually have a measurable benefit. You can actually break down speaking logically. It's not just an art form, and that's the stance I try to use. I come in, and I'm not coming in and say, oh yeah, you should say this to be kind. I'm saying you should say this because this is the only way you can have this conversation. So it's a different level of communicational depth than other people do.
You're right. It is a different level. You're on a different level. You know, you speak with the essence of wisdom that some people have to go and graduate through college in order to speak in that way. You speak with a just a ownership in your own sense of being able to do this, and you emanate that. It comes out of you. And I want to tell you something else I saw in you. And listeners, I may capture this in the future, or he may capture a piece of it, or you are listening might let your creative minds think on it. As you talked about the fact that the kind of things you did in going in to talk with elders and the things that they told you about their life, that, I mean, for me, those, as you were sharing that, I was awestruck because it had so much feeling to imagine what they say. And as you spoke, in my mind, I actually saw not only could a good paper and not a whole lot of pages, life, true life, the words that they say that people have never thought about and need to hear and let it generate and find out on saying this. Also thought about seeing such a moment. You talked with such a calmness and being present of what you had done that I could see what have been done on performance stages, in spoken word, talking, just that scenario of just what that occurrence and what they said being something that, that we look for in these true to life plays and things that are done that have so much stuff even way beyond what you imagine. Man, I got to tell you, it's a joy having this interview with you. I want you to continue on, and let me just ask another thing around family. No sisters and brothers?
Also, and I do have two brothers. I have two older brothers and I have two older sisters. Now, my older brothers are much older than me, and they live in Atlanta, so I didn't get to talk to them too much when I was younger. But my older sisters, man, and I don't talk about them too much. But being an only child, I don't think I would have made it through. I had a lot of things that I needed sisters for, and one of the things that my sisters helped show me is emotions. Oftentimes, not that they're right or wrong, but we do establish gender roles, and dudes aren't allowed to cry, and dudes aren't allowed to do things of that nature. But seeing someone who had the liberty to, asking them questions, why did that make you cry? Why did that make you upset? Asking myself when I was younger, man, if I want to be liked by my sisters, everybody knows I'm the youngest, I'm the baby. And so when you're young, you get away with certain things, you don't understand certain dynamics. And so oftentimes your older siblings can resent you a little bit. But I didn't want that. I wanted to be in a house where I could talk to everybody. So I had to ask myself, what things can I do? What conversations can I have? How can I promote fairness? If I'm the tallest, right? This, for example, I'm the tallest and they want to give me shotgun. Something as simple as asking, hey, do you want shotgun? Means a lot, even though I know they're going to give it to me, things of that nature. So my family, my sisters, also what they did serving as mentors and models for what success looks like. My sisters, I cannot underplay the importance that they played in my development, because when my parents weren't home, my parents were doing things they had to do to provide for us. My siblings were the parents not at home. They were the ones saying, Austin, you need to do these things. Austin, you need to go to sleep. Austin, you need to. So they were keeping me on track as well.
That is a blessing, and that's a good fortunate childhood you had. And that, I think that also says to the rest of us community is that we have to be there, whether they have what we might consider a healthy family or not. We have to be able to take care of our young. I mean, and think about it. I mean, when I was going to post about Austin, I kept, we mentioned Black Wall Street, either on the air or out after the show when there's been discussion, and how a lot of people talk about Black Wall Street at its zenith and not from the ground up. And what I think is an essence of a real key part of that is that in building up, that means they were investing in their young who are going to be the bearers of the new knowledge and skills needed, keeping them healthy as their generations were beginning to age out. And that kind of creating that kind of value and legacy in a community is what we got to get back to. And you, good fortune, not only for you, but for others who are hearing that to have families like that, even when you don't have the biological parents available all the time or for whatever reason. This is why the village matters. Okay, I'm going to shut up. I know you got it. Okay.
Absolutely, the village matters. And not to tell you, like, what you're saying is so true, that village matters so much. And actually using that as a segue to go into what I'm working on now, that's very true. I recognize the village matters so much, but as people in the community, I can't tell you what goes on in your village. And so recognizing that, I said, and this is what originally started me to go into my speaking journey that I'm on now, I said, okay, if the house that I live in is so great, and I got lucky and blessed to be put into this household, it shouldn't be luck. Other kids deserve to experience this, whether it's with their parents or with friends. This love, people pouring into you, people telling you when you don't support that they support. Other people deserve to have that. But if I can't go in every house, what can I equip people and kids with to have and facilitate these relationships? And that's what I think is communication. Right now, what I'm currently working on is working on a proposal to get into a school. I want to get into schools and teach kids communicational skills. And I'll go in a little deeper in the next section on why that's so important. But just a general sense, like we just said, I can't control what happens in your village. So if we want to give kids the skills to be successful, we can't throw them all in the pool and see who swims. That's not fair. That's not the same starting ground. So we have to equip kids with the communicational skills in order to be able to be successful in whatever their next steps are, whether you go to college, whether you go to break that cycle. I'm tired of, and this is where the passion comes into when I get a little excited. I'm tired of kids walking around. I'm tired of people in jail who don't have to be in jail. Okay. I'm tired of good people going to jail because they didn't have the words to say, I need help. Right. I'm tired of good people in jail because they didn't have the words to tell the jury, hey, this is why I did what I did. There's many people I truly believe in jail who if they had the words to describe why they were forced to do what they had to do, the jury would understand. A lot of people don't steal just to steal. I don't believe it. Because it's people that look like me, and I understand it's deeper than we see. But what we're not giving people is we're giving them all the jewelry, all the flash in the world. But what matters, what makes a difference, is being able to say simple things. We got people out here who have millions of dollars to their name, and you can't say I love you to your family. I got people who out here have money out the wazoo, and you simply don't know how to say I was wrong. Well, how can you live a successful life if we know that money is not the goal of life? If money is not going to give you the success that you want, you're looking for peace in all the wrong places. I described it. And so going into that, that's an even great segue into why speaking matters. The second point I want to talk about.
Let me push you a little, because you recognize you're in a world that, okay, there are many views about what are the best roads to life. And some that may have equally, their approach to communicating, and they may believe on that. But what I want to say is that in communicating with anyone is also recognizing what are the real challenges for them, because even the bearer has to operate within the challenges that they are aware of, that they may have accomplished overcoming, but the one that may be in front of them may have issues that are quite different, that have to understand that to figure out what's the best way to approach it, and whether these are things that interfere with the communicating. Is it self-resistant? Is it because they've been beaten down for so long? Figuring those things out.
Right.
Just dropping that in.
Absolutely. I think and communication is a two-way street. It's a two-way street. And the reason why I think communication is the answer is what you're talking about. There are so many things that we can't account for, unaccounted for biases, simply just an inability or a not desire to understand. But if we spend our whole lives trying to wonder what's going on in other people's lives, you will miss your life. You can't predict what someone else is thinking. The only way for me to explain my scenario past self-resilience is through communication. Because whether you grew up in East, West, North, or South Buffalo, you understand what fear looks like. So when I tell you I was fearful that my family wasn't going to be able to eat and people were going to starve in front of me, so I had to steal, it doesn't matter if you grew up in East Aurora or in the gutters, you understand what fear feels like. But you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that emotional connection through just doing other things, through just having a stronger case. No, that's a communicational problem. And those are common throughout life. There are some things that you can't solve, but through communication. But if you don't recognize those problems, you'll never come to someone like me, but you'll just keep hitting your head on a wall, not understanding why the wall is not coming down. And I want to use this, like I said, as a segue into why communication is important. I want to do an exercise with you before we get any deeper, because this is where my passion space is.
Keep your fingers crossed. Get the thing
So
right.
Exercise.
Don't make me blow it on air.
And you can put your phone in the tripod.
So I'm 19, and I'm going to do something that's very difficult at 19. And I want you to just bear with me and tell me at any point, if I'm losing sight of the goal. I'm going to try to break down life at 19 into a simple, understandable diagram. Are you ready? So I think that life has three main parts. You have your professional sphere. That's your purpose. That's why am I here. You have your personal sphere, which is family, friends, love, your love interest. And then you have your self sphere. So what's in those spheres? Let's get a little deeper. But does that make sense? You have your professional life, your personal life, your friends, your interactions in social world, and then you have how you regulate yourself. Does that make sense to accommodate for most of what life is? Right? Because professional can also just be a passion or your purpose, right? So let's get even deeper. Why do people go to work? Why do people follow their purpose? Money, right? You got to go to work to pay things. You always talk about you don't get paid just by, enthusiasm don't pay the bills. So you need money. Admiration. Sometimes you just want someone to say, hey, you're doing something cool, man. Status. Sometimes you go to a position not for what it's going to pay you, but for the title that's before your name. And then sometimes, hopefully, you go to work, lastly, for your passion. So some combination of those four, right? Everybody's not full money. Everybody's not full passion. It's some combination of those four why you go to work. Let's go to personal. It's your love interest. It starts with your flame, right? Your other half. There's your family, right? These are all my people who are blood related. Those are my friends. First circle, second circle, acquaintances. Those are all friends. Some type of friend at different levels of strength. And then lastly, in the self category, we have your mindset on life, how you see things, how you understand situations and make your answers. You have your management of yourself, meaning how do I deal with myself when I'm stressed? How do I deal with myself when I'm upset? What do I do when I'm hungry? Right? Things of that nature. And then lastly, you have your peace, because peace is something different. The thought or being able to say that I'm here and I have nowhere else I need to be or nowhere else I desire to be is something that a lot of people can't say. And that's your peace.
And all that you say is true. And because the verbal outlay that you laid out is, that's smooth. That's right.
Right. Okay. So
but the reality walk of that path is a whole different thing, because what's laid out doesn't include what are the things that will intrude in a challenging or unhealthy way, or even in a good way, for the need of sharpen and making you stronger. Those are the things you have to be able to overcome.
And so, and right, you have to overcome. There's going to be issues in every single one of these areas as you go through life. So let me ask you a question. If I could give you a skill right now that will make you better at every one of those areas I just mentioned. That's life. That's life I just mentioned. That's everything. If I gave you a skill right now that can make you better at all those things, would you be at least interested in hearing what I have to say?
If you could give it, I would be interested in having it. And I would say you probably wouldn't be giving it. You probably would be making me aware of something that's already in me.
Now what if I wanted to make that awareness and I want to do it cheaply? I want to
hear it. Definitely.
You want to hear it.
But I think I would challenge you to do it the other way, to hook me. Instead of testing to see if I'm interested, is to know what you got. And if people ain't got it, they kind of shortchanging themselves, and to find how you would express it out that way to make you, well, what you got? Let me see it. But if because the other way is like questioning, and that's sort of sounding almost like almost a hustler type.
It sounds too good to be true, don't it?
Well, yeah.
It sounds way too good to be true.
Yeah.
And so it's like this is almost too much. It's too much. But let me tell you something. That's what communication is, and that's why I get confused. Let's start breaking it down, because when I say that, people say, no, hold on. How is communication gonna make me more money, Austin? You're talking out of nowhere. Let's talk about it. Let's get real specific. Let's say two people, me and you, one job. Two people, one job, we both want. I want you to tell me, right? Why should they hire you? Now, most people are gonna say, look at my resume. I got all this experience. I got all these things. Look at my resume. This is why they're going to hire me. Is it? I want to talk about something before I even get into this so people don't think I'm talking foundless. Over the course of my gap year, I've been offered 3 positions. 3 positions. Now, what's special about these 3 positions? And each of these positions, what was the first prerequisite? A college bachelor's degree or equivalent. So why was I offered the positions? Like we said, I'm a teenager. I haven't went to college. I graduated from Canisius High School. Why am I getting offered these positions? Am I any smarter than the college graduates? No, not at all. But what is it? It's my ability to position myself and my experiences over the course of this year as equivalent or better than a bachelor's degree. It's not that the bachelor's degree isn't good, but in these administrators' eyes, because I'm able to tell them what I have done and why over the course of these past months, they say you don't need that. So let me ask you again, why should they hire you, not me? Because if you have a bunch of experience, but you can't explain why it's relevant to the position, that's great. But you just have a bunch of things. But then I come in and tell them, hey, look, I know they have a bunch of things, but let me tell you why my couple things mean more to what you need. And now we're in a race when I have no qualifications to be here. But because you don't have the communicational skills to explain why you're fit for the position, you're going to struggle. Let's get even deeper. Let's say we both go to college and get a degree. Uh-oh. I went to college prep school. That's what we was made to do. Go to college, get a degree, and get your money, right? Get your job. That's how it's said that it's supposed to work. So why do we have so many people with college degrees working at Starbucks? Why do we have so many people with college degrees working at Tops? Why are so many people with college degrees doing things they don't have to do? Is it because the jobs aren't there? No. People are crying all on the news that we need, that we're down on jobs. What is the issue? People don't understand how to take a degree and make it relevant. And any skill you learn in school, any skill you go to a degree for, I want you to feel special, but you got to recognize, if I left right now this studio and went to school right now for 4 years to get a communications degree, that's great. But I'm graduating a class of what? Let's go small. A class of 100, 200. Let's go real small. I graduated in a class of 100, 200. Now there's 200 other guys who have the same degree as me. 2 dudes, 1 job. Why should I get it? And nobody can answer that. It has nothing to do with the degree. It's about how can I position myself as fit for this job? And there's no other skill you can learn. Every other skill has already been done. Jim, I'm not that old, but I can recognize the world has been here for a while. There's not a lot of skills you're going to reinvent. The wheel has been running for millions and millions of years. So I know we're all innovators, but there are some things you're just restating messages, but there's only so many things. There's only so many skills in the world we live in with videos and things on YouTube. Skills are easily transferable, right? It's very easy for me to then say, oh, look up a skill, get it on YouTube, watch a video, and learn it in 2 days. So tell me, what skill besides communication will separate you from other people? There's no other skill. You can't break certain glass ceilings unless you can explain why you shouldn't be under the ceiling. And so that's why I get frustrated. People act like communication is this thing that's just beautiful and pretty and makes everybody feel good. No, communication is valuable. You can make a living with it.
Let me catch you there, because there's a lot there. We're gonna go to a break, and I got a response to. I got something I want to say to you and what I've seen and heard just now, and we'll get back to it. Here we go, y'all.
If you're passionate about
how you feeling?
This is like why I speak, so I get really passionate about it. But
yeah,
this is like,
but
I try to explain to people, like when I talk to my friends in high school, and like I'm like, yo, if you learn how to communicate now, when you're going into rooms, you're already working against so much. You're black. You're from the inner city. You don't have the college degree. You already have so much, but if you don't give yourself the words or the skills to say, I know I'm working against this, but this is what I have, you're gonna constantly keep hearing. You're gonna get declined for jobs and not even know why.
And then you fall on a
race card. Then you get mad. You're like, why is somebody answering my Indeed?
You fall on a race card.
Right. Or you want to say, okay, well, let's go even back to positions, right? We recognize the inner city isn't fair. This is a system. So if I can't get jobs, what do I have to do? is trap, sell drugs, and go to the league. It's so difficult because the people that get I'm arguing and advocating for people harder than they're advocating for themselves. I'm saying you have the skills, you just don't know how to explain it. You have the skills. You should be in these jobs, verbal and inverbal. But and this is only one part. I'm not going to go into every aspect of life, but I will start on money because that's where people start. Everybody thinks about money. Oh, I don't want to give you. I'm not going to invest in communication because how is it going to pay me dividends? But this is how it pays you dividends.
Let me fix that for you.
And I'm just going to touch on money, passion, family, and peace, and then I'm gonna go after because that'll be enough where it's like, okay, I see what he's saying, how communication improves my life. I don't want to go too much deeper than that. So I want to give you a chance to respond as well, and then I want to move on to my last point of what causes do actions.
Dig it, we get ready to go. Hey, we're back. You're listening to Conversation with Jim Anderson, and if you don't know, now you know my guest is my co-host, and that is Austin Von Martin. And let me just tell you, we've been having a really good conversation already, and we're about to take it higher because you spoke with a lot of passion, Austin. Oh, by the way, listen, Austin Von Martin is a young entrepreneur. And I use the phrase young, gifted, and black because he is. He got some deep stuff with him. And they're all they play out like a movie of his life and the life that he's experienced. And that's where I want to go to, Austin, because as I heard you lay out and speak about the things you want to do just now, what came to mind was this. You were talking to, I heard you saying things that people need to learn to negotiate their way through. And I also heard you talking with what was the essence of pain that kind of is the testimony of some things you have experienced.
Yeah.
Because you can't talk about what you don't know.
Right.
And I saw two phases. I felt like, in telling your story, before telling people what they need to do, tell it from the total eye of what you have experienced that has brought you to this point to speak in the way that you do. And I what I'm saying is just an honest, give back. And this is not bad. This is how we share. The other thing is that I think that in telling about your pain first will help you to reach and get in touch with that compassionate moment that you needed when you were going through like that. And it's like, who can I turn to? And it don't, you got your family, but there's another kind of turn to that's in that vein that, boy, you need some support, some kind of holding you up while you feel the sting of even being dismissed. And as you learn the lay of the traps, I hear you want to talk to an audience to warn them about it. And in some ways, want to talk a little strongly to some of those who actually come out in the manner of that is just, that ain't how you can do it.
Right.
And so I would say you're on the right track. Smooth the edges, because even some of them are that in the short end don't understand why, and some of them that don't have better habits on presenting themselves, you can be an example. But I think it comes through working through the pain,
right?
That is clearly there, and you finding an expression in a healthy way that I already think you're doing. I kind of thought you were talking out of body in ways while we're here. I mean, because when one gets a chance to kind of like, even as one trying to stay in what they think is the margins, what we call emotions,
right? Those
parts begin to come out. So that we going everywhere you go on this program today, we're going with you. Right. This is an interview about you, and you can take it from here wherever you prefer and choose to go.
I'm gonna finish and talk a little deeper about the money aspect, because what you said was very true, and I think it could be very beneficial for some viewers. I am pretty calm. I know I know I get passionate, but this, I think you should hear that passion, because people often mistake my calmness for uncare. I'm just here because my mom has me to be here. No, I truly care about this. The issue with the money thing, right? If you're listening to what I'm saying and saying, all right, cool, yeah, okay, I can learn how to speak to get jobs, but there's probably other skills that are more valuable. I want to tell you about the danger. You're going to learn all these skills. You're going to try to learn skills, and everybody's going to learn them too. Because, again, you're not reinventing the wheel. The world is too big. Any skill you got, somebody's going to replicate it. It's inevitable. And if you're good enough, that's the highest form of flattery. People are going to replicate your skills. There's no other thing that you have that's as unique. When you go on these interviews, you're going to get declined or get your things thrown out. You're not even going to know why. And it's the optics of it. It's the verbal and nonverbal communication. And all I want to do is provide people who look like me and people who don't. The chance that when you get an interview, you know it was the product, not the packaging, because that's what I'm seeing seems to be the issue. Moving past that into the professional sphere, how can communication help you with your passion? Well, for a lot of people, they have a passion, they have a career, but they don't know how to coincide it because they don't know how their passion really is important. When you learn how to communicate and explain your passion, explain what's important to you, whether it's me who helps you understand that, a business coach helps you understand that, or you're just able to understand it on your own, that'll always make it easier to combine a passion and a position. Because even if you have a position that you can't leave, you can find ways to bring your passion into that position. If you're in a position of leadership that you can't leave, but you just have a heart space for teaching children, well, you can have once a month, all your people can bring your kids to work day and we'll do story time. How hard is that? Now, is that common? No. But again, we're all not the same. But if you can find ways to combine your passion and what you do, that's going to make a lot of people want to go to work. And that's the hard part. We go to work, but do you want to be there? Do you feel like that's what you were called to do by whatever higher power you believe? And I think that when people can learn to combine that through communication and saying, going to a boss, or if you are the boss, saying, hey, I want to do this, or we're going to do this, and here's why, and actually make that here's why make sense. Not only will you want to come to work, but your team, your coworkers, and the people under you will want to come to work through seeing you. Like we always talk about, your light can light up others. And so I think that there's no other thing quite like communication that can help you combine a passion and a career.
I would add to it, you're right. And the essence of the life of folks like us are in a storm, and making sure we get through and communicate in a way that's helpful is important. So yeah, go on. I listen, I'm just flooring off of how you come.
Absolutely. And then let's go into the personal world. We're talking about professional. How is communication going to help me in my personal space? Let's go to family. Because I think this is where a lot of people get messed up, because family is different from any other part of communication, because it's the blood aspect. It's the fact that no matter what I do, we have some type of tie, right? That people try to just, oh, no, it's okay. It's just like that. That's just how family is. I want to tell you right now, there's some things that we think are okay that aren't. And I'm working on people recognize that they aren't all right. But one of the things in family that's big is difficult conversation. A lot of times, whether it's, you're younger, don't want to offend somebody who's older, you're someone older who doesn't want to waste their time talking to someone younger, we avoid difficult conversations or saying, hey, I don't like when you do this, especially with boundaries. Difficult conversations regarding boundaries, because we want to keep the family close. It's an insular family thing, right? Family secrets, all these things that we have to keep the family close. It makes it difficult sometimes to say, hey, when you did that hurt my feelings. I don't want you to do it no more, even though we are family. Because family thinks they get passes. How is communication going to help that? Well, communication does, and one of the things that I help people understand in communication is, you hurt me by not helping me not hurt you. Now, let's break that down, because a lot at once. If I love my mother, and I do something that hurts my mother's feelings, well, if I love my mother and want the best for my mother, hurting her, seeing her in pain hurts me. So if I'm doing something that's hurting her feelings and not knowing it, by her not telling me what's hurting her feelings, I'm actually hurting myself. Because if I do it, then every time I see my mom upset, and I'm like, oh, I feel bad, my mom's upset. But I don't even know that I'm the culprit. Whose fault is that? At the core essence of it, it's not my fault. But that being said, even though it's not my fault, it doesn't mean I don't have a responsibility to want to make a difference.
Kind of not your fault, you think, but the ownership of our words, because we have life and death. Some people don't understand it, but you won't be able to think you're hurting your mom's feeling because if you think that, you already have some awareness. You just don't know the answer.
Right.
And if you think that there's that possibility, I would say the onus is on you to inquire, Mom, did I offend you by that?
Right.
And if it's something that you would be offended by, do you know? I mean, you have to act on it. I think those little moments come up, and it's easier to dismiss it as not being something we should act on. I think we should be the first ones out of the gate. Whether we
That's the win. First to walk away.
I think it goes both ways. Let me ask you this question: how many times do you hear someone say, "Hey, did I do that and hurt you?" And they'll say no, but then when that person leaves the room, they'll say, "Yeah, that makes me really upset." Because I can ask all I want, but what I need people to understand is from both ways, communication will help you. Whether you want the words to say, hey, no, I'm not asking did it hurt, but did it do this? If you want to ask to really help them come out their shell, or if you want to come out your shell, regardless of which avenue you want to go down or which advocate you want to stand for, communication needs to be there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So right. You could ask, and if the person is one who's been taught to get behind a question, it's like you're asking the question, and they're like, "Why you want to know?" In essence, right. And you can say, "I'm just asking," and that's right. They're fine. They understand that. They haven't refused you, but they need to know, why are you asking this question? And if it's I just wanted to know, then that's sort of like wasting their time. Right. And I think sometimes people don't understand it. But I also think that if you're going to ask the question, fill it all the way in. I was wondering, thus and thus, because, what is the causality right. that makes you want to ask that question? And then you might get a response. Let me give you this, I'll give it back to you. There's a preacher that talked about the adulterous woman, and it said, everybody want to know what did the Lord write on the ground when the crowd was wanting to go on it, and the priest said, I know what he wrote. And of course, you can imagine everybody got quiet, want to hear the answer. And you know what he said he wrote? None of your business. Right. I'm just saying, some things are like that.
And that's true.
Okay,
and
back to you.
The difference is people saying, hey, I want to know this to know, and people saying, hey, I want to know because we're family. And I want to be able to come to you in my wins and my losses. And in order to do that in a way that's successful, we need to work and we need to have systems in place that work for both of us. That's right. That's the difference. And if you don't have those words, that's fine. But that's why you email me and I help you find those words.
How to get in touch with you?
How to get in touch with me? Well, yeah, we can get into that right now. If you want to get in touch with me, first off, it's not just if you want to get in touch with me. If you or your organization could benefit from being able to speak, if you're just outright curious, or if you have an opportunity, you can contact me, I think, firstly, through my email. That's the easiest way. info@austinvaughnmartin.com, and I'll even spell it. info@AustinVaughnmartin.com. And what you can email me, I'll make it even simpler. All you got to email me is your name and the communicational problem you're struggling with, and I'll send you back a free tip to work on it. I'll give you free product. I'll give you a free tip that you can apply today on that tip. That's how confident I am on the benefits of communication. You can also add me on all my socials. You can add me on Facebook, so you can catch the lives as Austin Martin as well, Austin Vaughn Martin. You can add me on YouTube. I'm going to start posting some videos at Austin Vaughn Martin. And then lastly, I'd appreciate it very much if you connect with me on LinkedIn, because I'm active on LinkedIn and I'm still trying to get to 150 connections. I want to make a quick jump too before we kind of go fully into the next steps part, because I want to talk about.
Let me just tell you, I'm so excited. Let me just tell you, I love that level of volume you were just using. It was a little anyway. Continue on. I love the level of volume. I don't know if you can capture in your head where you were at. And it was more animated than when you. Let me tell you, I'm John.
Okay, for sure. Yes, it's the two personalities. I'm very calm, but knowing when to use the energy is very difficult. So I'm still working on it, and I appreciate all the feedback for sure.
Radiate all the time.
Absolutely. The last thing I want to touch on is what problems are communicational problems. When I came in the studio today, we talked a little bit about how communication isn't going to get you a six-pack. I'm sorry. I got to tell y'all right now. Communication on its own is not going to get you a private jet. I got to tell you right now, I got to be upfront. You can't pay for things with communication. Well, unless you barter, right? But What do I actually solve? Well, I do three things. If you have an issue that involves connecting, understanding, or translating the youth, I solve that. And let's get a little deeper into that first part, connecting, understanding, and translating. Okay.
Some solutions.
What's connecting? Connecting is, okay, I'm trying to launch a new product. I'm in a marketing agency. I'm launching a new product and it's targeted towards kids. But we don't really know what kids like. We just think they're gonna like it. How do we know? Let's call Austin and find out. Understanding kids. If you're someone, a parent, and you're not even a parent, if you're a company who's saying, why are employees not coming to work? Why are these new kids not trying to apply for this job and we need workers? It's a good position. The product is good. What's wrong with my packaging? I don't understand the youth. Let's email Austin. The last step there is translation. If I'm an adult, if I'm a parent, and in my house, we just don't speak. I don't understand, Mr. Jim, how when they see this certain set of issues, they're getting this. Why are they not understanding what I'm saying? Were you not raised better and I'm the parent? No, we can't say that. But is that how they feel? What did I miss? It's not you missed anything. You're not translating right. We're coming in with that youthful flavor saying, hey, mom, my bad, I didn't do this. And you're saying, how that's so obvious? That's a translation issue. Or when you guys leave from agreements, they're not actually agreements. You think they understood what you said, and they think they think you understand what they said. But because you guys never really had an official translation, you're never gonna. Let's email Austin for a translation.
Y'all generation better write a dictionary and hand it out as Mother's and Father's Day gifts. I'm working on because we got. Look, we'll take you on because we already been there. We know that's what we did, and we had to learn how Mom and Daddy dealt with us. So we got you. We got a caller. Caller, you're on the air. Welcome.
Good day. I love the energy. I love the passion. My question is, I think you were going to say, how did the two of you connect?
Say it again. Say that part again.
I said, I love the energy. I love the passion. My question is, how did the two of you connect?
Oh, absolutely. So I had a birthday event on my birthday this year. I was turning 19, and I didn't want to just do a birthday party. I'm not a big fan of birthday parties, and I have a great family behind me. So my mom suggested, she said, why don't you do an event that will allow other people to get a chance just like you do? So I said, okay, I want to put young people that are doing what I'm doing on a pedestal as well. So my mom then, again, I love my mom. She went out on a limb and she was going to networking events around the city, introducing the idea like, hey, I want business professionals to be there because it wasn't just about showing up, but we want to mentor the youth, mentor the young entrepreneurs and give them a chance to be on stage, just like I get that chance. I wanted to just offer that to everybody. And so recognizing that, she was going to these networking events, these nonprofit spaces, and she met a lady by the name of Wendy Mednick. I can't talk about Wendy enough. She's given me so many opportunities. But Wendy, when I spoke to her and met with her one day, she said, I think there'll be somebody you'd like to meet. You should reach out to Mr. Jim Anderson. Now, I didn't know a lot about Mr. Jim Anderson. So I said, you know what? Let me just send him a call. But the moment I pressed that number and he answered, I wish I would have called him sooner. It was the greatest experience. And it was finally meeting someone who truly wanted to pour into me. And so as we got to know each other a little better, he offered the opportunity for me to maybe come in and just watch in a radio show. And then when I came in for my first radio show, would you believe it? He threw me on the mic. And then we've been here ever since. So it's been a pleasure. And it's been a great opportunity and an honor and a real blessing to get to meet him. But I got to meet him through another connection from my birthday event when I was trying to put other entrepreneurs on a pedestal just like myself. So it was a great way to meet. And that's kind of a little story for how it happened.
Yeah. And how I got it is that the woman he speaks of, Wendy Mednick, was a guest was on the show with a guest and was as a guest herself, and in leaving did what everybody does, that I think that when they run into something that gotta tell somebody, and you know where to drop it at, because some things you run into that enlighten you and just make you sparkle, you can't drop it everywhere. And I just received a gift of her sharing Austin's name with me and her compliments about him. And I was intrigued. And then when he called me, I gave her my number for him to contact me. When he beat me to the punch, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is that part of that generation that people say don't care and lazy. But the other thing in his speaking to me, I mean, his focus, his energy, the spirit just came across. And when I had him in the studio, I mean, he'd been going by leaps and bounds. And he's in that mode where when I talk about what we in the village have to do is help keep him on the course. We don't have to shape him, just keep him from going outside of the margins of how he's going. I mean, let him be able to bump off the rings without falling out the rings. That's what we want to do with him and many other young women and men like him. I mean, he's a pleasure to meet. He's capable. He's all that. And as you can hear in this conversation, yeah, the not being on the planet all that long, the fact that he's been on the planet this long, he knows something, shows he can handle it. I'm like, we need to make an investment. And this, the community, we got to find a way to create some kind of even community income fund to help our young people, even if it means community giving little small dollar grants to our young people who are trying their best to do things. Even as we keep those programs that help those who may not who need a bit more support, these just need a little bit of support. And that little bit, they needed to be real, because a lot of them get shucked and jived. A lot of them be used for photo ops without real opportunity. And some of them, they struggle to release what is righteous anger. That, they hear the hype about a community that cares about them, but then they see the absence of the care. They hear the words, but where the action? And so, that's how we met.
That's the little story. I know we only have, I don't mean
it's
to
all
cut
yours.
off. I know we only have about 7 minutes. So I want to just finish this last point, because this is what's so essential if you want to contact me. You got to know what you'd be contacting me for. So what I just said, if you have an issue that involves connecting, understanding, or translating to the youth, hit me up. If you have an issue that's deeper than speech, right? Because sometimes you have the words, we know how to speak, we don't have the way to do it. If you have an issue that's deeper than speech, but it involves more than one. It's not just I don't have the words, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to go about it, Austin. I want to have the conversation. I just don't know how to go about it. I want to be a better person. And I touch on something as well called the communicational high road. That's basically just being I want to be a better person, Austin. I want to be the bigger person. I just don't know how to go about it in a way where I don't feel like I walked away. I don't feel like I lost. Come to me, email me, reach out. And the last thing is if it involves the teaching of communicational skills. I don't teach everything. I don't teach mentals. I teach communicational skills. Right now I'm working and getting into schools, teach communicational skills, but it's not just schools. I do it for I have. Yeah, not I don't. I have. If you want to get into it, I have. I've done trainings. I don't always fall back on those credentials, but these are what I focus on. And some of the things that I teach, an example of a communicational skill that I could teach in your personal, which means your kids, professional, your organization, or at a school. Example, a simple one is just asking for help. So many people could just be so much further along, not struggle if we could just learn how to ask for help. And it's so simple, but you got to go with someone who can make it simple. Everything is simple if you talk to the right person. And I'm confident that regardless of the situation or the problem, we can create a program, a system that's not only valuable, but measurable. Oh, we're actually improving on a scale, measurable. And not only is it measurable, but we can create a process to make sure it's not only measurable, but a permanent change. You don't just feel good, but you are better. And so that is it. That's my communication.
Check your website for some of your client list.
Check my website. You can see some of my past clients, some of my past credentials on my website, again, at www.austinvaughnmartin.com. But this is what I do. This is the value of communication. If you want to improve your life in your personal, professional, and self aspects, we talked about how broad life is, but how broad communication can be. If you want to connect, understand, translate to the youth, if it's deeper than speech, and if you want to teach communicational skills, there's only one name that should be coming to your mind: Austin Vaughn Martin. That's all. That's all I wanted to say. And so to end on, like you were talking about, with opportunities. I know I'm young. I know I'm I got the youthful vigor, but I'm ambitious. I'm hungry, and also what you need to understand is that just being hungry don't pay the bills. So if you have real opportunities where you want to give me a chance, or if you truly have inquiries or curious, like I said, you can reach out to my email at info@austinvaughnmartin.com and simply just send your name. It could be somebody else's name. I'll reach out to them, but you can send your name and your problem, or just your name and a question. 2 lines. Take 2 lines, 5 seconds, invest into yourself, and see the dividends that communication will pay off.
Austin Vaughn Martin, I want to thank you, brother. And listeners, listen to it. This now we need to provide those opportunities. You know, if you're an organization, I'm saying, look, if you say you care about young people, here's one action for you to assist them, and you should invite them to a meeting. See, get deep with his thoughts and let him talk with you, and just these are the things that we need to do. You don't know the whole of him. We still got a whole lot more to learn about him, and he will be sharing it at future times. But I want to tell you that the kind of platforms we have to provide for our young people, we haven't done it yet. And we have the ability to do it. So I'm telling you, if you have a youth group, or if you have whatever kind of organization, invite him. And again, we're wrapping up, and I just want to thank you, Austin Vaughn Martin, and I want to thank Mama Martin, who one day gonna get really fully on the mic. And again, shout out to King Shad. Wonderful. We out of here. Have a great day, y'all.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Peace and love.